Countless are the stories circulating about the silent chambers. Many of them make the hegemony Elves' blood run cold, and yet they wish they could get a glimpse of one of them. Their thirst for knowledge is consuming them. The enemies of Mounthaven would rather die than be held prisoner in one of the silent chambers. They rarely make it through the night. Orcs smash their heads against its walls. The ZSOKA, well, those certainly go down in flames. The king's silent chambers are suspended between the bottom of the hanging fortress and the sea of fog. Those trying to escape by digging a hole in the ground certainly meet a fate far worse than death after the fall. Well, that was a little bit theatrical. Oh, hi! Welcome back to another episode of The Whispers of Lindwurm. This is Hoopoe whispering into your ears the updates about the WarCrow universe and its games. Today, we have a very special episode because, as promised, we will be showing you the first miniature. And also, we will be diving a little deeper into WarCrow Adventures, our dungeon crawler. And you will get a first look at the character sheet. But before we start, let me remind you of something. Everything you see in this update is a work in progress. That means the finished product might and possibly will change through the months. With that in mind, shall we begin, travelers? This is what a character sheet for our dungeon crawler, WarCrow Adventures, will look like. This is not a real... Actually, it is quite real because it's my character sheet. I mean, this is not one that will be playable in dungeon crawler, but isn't this cool? So this sheet is divided into two parts. The upper half, we have the basic stats of the character. Let's quickly cover all of them. We have our initiative value. That would determine the activation order in combat. Then we have movement points to know how far you can stride on the tile. There's your energy points that are dedicated to actions. There's your health value, and I think that one explains itself quite good. And in addition, you can find defense and magic resistance. With those, you will repel physical and magical attacks. The lower half of the character sheet displays the attributes of your character. Interestingly enough, those can change throughout the game and you will be able to improve them as you make your progress through the dungeon crawler. These attributes will come in handy to perform actions and interact with NPCs. Let's see what we've got. First we have strength. Probably you've figured out this one on your own, but this attribute marks how physically powerful your character is. Perception. This attribute signals your awareness of both the supernatural and the occult around you, how sharply you can figure out hidden doors, abnormal presences, and such. Agility. This marks your ability to move swiftly, to dodge, but also to carry on actions that require both precision and control with your fingers. Charisma. These are your people skills, your ability to communicate with others, your capacity to interact in a more or less successful manner. Intelligence. This represents the knowledge you have acquired and your capability of understanding the information given to you and interpreting it properly. And finally, personally my favorite attribute is willpower. In this game, travelers, the characters will have to face a series of challenges that perhaps they are not up to. Fear plays a key role in WarCrow Adventures, and with this attribute you will see how successfully you can face it. As you can see, some of these values are expressed in numbers and others in coloured dice. As I mentioned in a previous Q&A, yes, this game will be played with 8-sided dice. Said dice may have more than one symbol per side. Also, different colours indicate different levels of the dice, but do not let the Manichaean better or worse dichotomy strike too hard. These dice will help you build a strategy that accommodates both you and the character you're playing. This is something we learned from Aristeia. Not all characters need the highest hit roll, rather they thrive with all the symbols to perform their abilities. We have two kinds of dice, offensive and defensive. Offensive dice are yellow, orange and red, and defensive dice are black, blue and green. There are two more things of interest in the character sheet. Above me, you can see the name of the character, well, of course, and then immediately below there is a list of items. Those make up the character's initial equipment. The equipment will change throughout the game and the campaign, progressing as you do. And finally, at the bottom of the sheet, there is each character's innate skill or ability. This is something your character can do from the very beginning of the game. But wait a second. I'm not a playable character in this game. Shoo! 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 Who will then occupy the space I was in all this time? Do you want to meet the first core character of our dungeon crawler? Yeah? Are you excited? Let's go! Fellow travelers, allow me to introduce you to ZSOKA ISIMUN, our brave dwarf warrior from Mounthaven. Let us learn a bit about the story of ZSOKA. When the folk withdrew from Asail, ZSOKA was assigned to the Expeditionary Company 17, which would march into the island continent to protect the cartographers from Mounthaven. The campaign chronicle of Walia, the chronicler of her detachment, became one of the earliest encyclopedias to be written about the zones previously affected by the fog. ZSOKA, despite her young age, was the most bold and daring of all her mates. Her absent-mindedness never stopped surprising the others. The encounters with the other nations of Lindwurm made ZSOKA mature, and she developed strong sentiments of duty and comradeship. Company 17 was her family. However, the company was surprised by the fog in one of their expeditions, and ZSOKA was the only one who managed to survive. She realized how her own people looked at her with apprehension, mistrust in their eyes, as if they were blaming her for what happened. It seemed like she had no opportunity for redemption until she heard of the creation of new groups that were venturing into the fog. Willing to find her mates and clean her honor, ZSOKA is now looking for an adventurous company to join. If it's true that the Company 17 is long gone, then the maximum priority for any dwarf worth the name is to retrieve the campaign chronicle. By looking at ZSOKA's character sheet, there's some info you can extract already. She is the tank of the gang. She has one of the highest health values, and her main job is to attract the enemy's attacks. She can also have some control over the damage she receives, and she forces the enemies to focus on her instead on other characters. Not inventing the wheel here, your classic tank. Do you want to see her miniature? I said, do you want to see her miniature? Hit it, Cora! Here you have it! Wow, aren't you amazed? Because I am. This is a wicked miniature, pure amazing dwarfness made in PVC plastic. We love ZSOKA. She's such a deep, interesting character, given her life, a backstory, personality. It has been an amazing journey, and I hope you get to love her as much as we do already. I swear to the shot in the sky, it has taken me a great effort not to shout to the top of my lungs when I saw her. But here she is, our first dungeon crawler character, WarCrow's first miniature. I am over the moon. Over the 2 moons! You know, I cannot go about one video without mentioning my favorite topic so far, the fog. The fog has its own entity. It is a key element for the WarCrow universe, and thus it will be present in both WarCrow Adventures and WarCrow the Wargame. Oh, and it leaves a trace, for anywhere it roams, passes or creeps, a stain remains. There is always a stain. Some places near the limits of the fog have been ravaged by it, and the stories about these episodes are terrifying. Some people were banished, some others woke up in the middle of the night, walked directly into the fog, and disappeared inside of its embrace. Other people were left in a catatonic state, mere husks of what they used to be. Those lucky enough to have survived after being under its influence, in a more or less sane state, speak of a speck flight, a reflection. But not just people are affected by the fog, also buildings and plants experiment changes under its proximity and its touch. The fog is unpredictable. One can never guess where its tides will reach. It seems like somehow it's alive. What you need to know for certain is that the fog is a menace, a threat, one that all nations must face. However, there might be different approaches and strategies on how to do so. Take ZSOKA and the dwarves from Mounthaven, for example. They have been coexisting with the fog that lays underneath the surface of the earth and the ground, and they're used to it. They have studied it, and they know how to navigate their ways around it. Forget the resignated classic dwarf that has voluntarily secluded within their mountains. Mounthaven shall be secluded nowhere. This is the moment. They have a plan, remember? Everything is carefully orchestrated for them to rise victorious. And that's it for now. Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to follow and subscribe to not miss any updates of the Whispers of Lindwurm. We'll continue throughout this video to show you game mechanics, more miniatures, and you know the drill. Be aware. Wait, what? Oh. Well, you know the drill. You know what I was going to... What's this?